In today's military, 10 to 15 years ago, the pendulum was on one side where a sexual assault allegation would be made and the military would sweep it under the rug or not really do anything about it. At least that was the perception. And in the recent years, the pendulum has swung so far to the other side that they want to show the community, they want to show the public that they're taking a stand, and they've waged what I call a war on sexual assault. And by doing that, anyone, whether male or female, you make an allegation of sexual assault against a soldier or against an airman or against a Marine, they're going to investigate it. And when I say investigate it, that means they'll take her statement, do little investigation, and then charge the soldier, the Marine, or the airman. And the mentality now, Carla, from commanders, and that's at a senior level of command, is if he didn't commit the crime, we'll take it to a jury trial and the jury or the panel will find him not guilty. And that's the wrong answer. Because if you don't have a good faith belief that someone committed a crime, you shouldn't take them to a trial. And I think that commanders these days are misusing the military justice system. And that's one of the reasons why we see this huge spike in sexual assault. I don't believe for one moment that the military is replete with 20, 30, 40% of their soldiers or their Marines are rapists. I mean, that's ludicrous, Carla.
We were talking off camera, and I find it amazing that people have motives to falsely accuse somebody that actually didn't even commit the crime.
Well, I think that happens in all walks of life, whether that's civilian cases or military cases, because in the military we're just a microcosm of society. But the reality is people do have incentives to falsely accuse, and I've seen it myself. No different than we were talking about false confessions. If years ago you would have asked me if someone could actually falsely accuse someone else of, let's say, a sexual assault, because that's what's the big thing in the military now, it's almost hard to believe. But in some ways the military even incentivizes false accusations. So let me give you an example of what we're talking about, Carla. I was defending a service member out in Korea not that long ago who was accused of a sexual assault. With the long and short of it is, he was out drinking with a subordinate soldier, and they were drinking, they got intoxicated, they went back into his barracks room, and they had sex. While they were having sex, she saw a picture of his girlfriend on the bedside table. That made her pretty upset. Whether those are good decisions or not, that's another story, but bad decisions don't always equal criminal decisions. A couple days later, she actually made a sexual assault allegation against him. Now you ask yourself, is seeing a picture of someone's girlfriend enough motive to accuse someone of sexual assault? Maybe yes, maybe no. But what the Army does now, in particular, they allow service members to get what's called an expedited transfer. So she was transferred immediately out of Korea back to a location near her home, and she hated Korea. She also was able to get an honorable discharge afterwards. She didn't want to be in the military. So she was able to get out of Korea, get an honorable discharge, and not only on top of that, then she applied to get a disability rating for what's called MTRS, Military Rape Trauma Syndrome. Now, you may say, is that enough to falsely accuse someone? Well, at the end of the day, they charged this soldier, and they took him to what's called an Article 32 hearing, and the case was set for trial. Now, going back to whether law enforcement does good investigations, they never pulled the video from the barracks, okay? So what would that show? So our investigators, our team pulled the video, and it showed they were walking hand in hand, and as she left in that morning, because she wasn't supposed to be in that barracks, she opened the door, turned her head out to make sure the coast was clear, put her hoodie up, walked down the hallway, and as she was walking out, essentially got caught by someone saying she shouldn't be there. And I asked myself, how did law enforcement not find the video? Why didn't they use it? And that was an extraordinarily different version of events than what she had told.
How late into a case can you actually defend the accused? When can they contact you?
Well, Carl, I've done it on both sides of the spectrum. I've been called on to a case literally 2 days before we were set to begin a jury trial. That's the worst possible scenario. I have to ask for a continuance and get spun up on the case because no lawyer can take a case 2 days before trial. So I've done that before and will continue out a case, but my preference is to start as early as possible. If I can start the moment someone accuses you, that's my preference. If someone accuses you of a crime you didn't commit or accuses you of anything that's criminal, I'd want to find out right then and there. Because at that point in time, I can stop the pretext phone calls. I can stop to make sure you don't take a polygraph. I can make sure that you don't confess to something you didn't do. I can make sure that they aren't able to get DNA evidence without a warrant, and they're not able to use tactics against you. And that's the great part about hiring a civilian attorney. is that we can take a case at any point in time, probably before a service member is charged. Or when I was a military attorney working in the Trial Defense Service, I was not allowed to start working on a case and forming an attorney-client relationship until charges were preferred. And by that time, it's often too late.